Hey loves, before you dive into Altitude of Forever, I just want to say this. This story is for every woman who's ever doubted if she was enough. For every woman who's ever felt like she had to shrink herself to fit into a world too small to hold her. For every woman who's learning, maybe slowly, maybe painfully, that you were never required to change to be loved. Amira's journey is about love, real love, messy, healing, patient love that says, I see you, I choose you, I'm not leaving. It's also about choosing yourself, choosing to believe that your softness is not a weakness, that your curves are not an apology, that your story, your whole unfiltered story, is beautiful, powerful, and already enough. If you see yourself in Amira, if you've ever needed someone to say, you deserve this kind of love, let me be the one to tell you, you do. You always have, and you always will. Thank you for being here. Thank you for feeling this story with me. I hope it reminds you that you are not too much. You are not asking for too much. You are exactly the right amount of miracle. Now, let's fly together. Welcome to Altitude of Forever. Hajun's assistant knocked gently on the glass wall of his office. Sir, the crisis team needs you in conference room B. Hajun nodded, running a hand through his hair. He paused when he spotted a photo on his desk. A small framed picture of Amira, taken on their honeymoon, barefoot on a balcony, laughing with her whole body. He smiled, a rare thing these days. The mirror above their dresser went untouched. At first, Amira just avoided it in passing, turned her body sideways, pretended not to see her reflection while pulling on a robe or fixing her hair. Then one day, she took a throw blanket and gently draped it over the entire thing. Not angrily, not dramatically, just quietly. Like covering a picture frame after someone dies. She hadn't looked at herself in weeks. Amira had always been curvy, not the kind they put on magazine covers, but soft, full-bodied, and real. And even when her confidence wavered, she still dressed with intention, like every outfit was a quiet act of defiance. She wore Hajun's oversized tees like armor, leggings, wrap dresses, soft cotton, soft strength. During pregnancy, she expected changes. What she didn't expect was how hard it would be to feel at home in her body again. She gained weight, more than she planned, more than she felt prepared to carry. Hajun, always thoughtful, started buying bigger hoodies, quietly, on purpose, because she loved wearing his clothes. But after the baby came, she stopped reaching for them. The body she once dressed with care now felt unfamiliar, foreign. His t-shirts, still folded in the bottom drawer, neat, untouched. He used to tease her, if you steal one more of my shirts, I'm billing you like a stylist. But now he said nothing, and that silence, it echoed louder than anything. Nothing fit right anymore. Nothing felt like hers anymore. Every morning began the same. Tiptoe to the scale, heart pounding, breath held. The numbers felt like a sentence, a new weight, a new failure. She stopped eating full meals, one forkful, two if the baby was watching, and even then, she smiled like it was enough. Tossed the rest in the trash with shame so deep, it sat under her ribs like lead. Her body was full. Her heart was hollow. The baby carrier didn't zip one morning. She just changed the baby, humming gently, sleep-deprived but functional, when she tried to strap him to her chest like she used to. The zipper caught, tugged, refused to rise. She stared at it for a full minute before her knees gave out and she sank to the floor. The baby whimpered in the background, reaching for her, but Amira turned her face toward the cabinets and cried in silence. No sound. Just tears and guilt and that relentless ache of why can't I do this right? Hajun noticed the dimmer mood. He noticed the tension, but his attention, his full attention, was fractured. The walls of Hansung Group weren't just shaking, they were cracking. It started with a whisper, a lawsuit from a bitter former partner. But whispers don't stay quiet when power is involved. By morning, the media had latched on like vultures, picking apart every detail. Headlines screamed, stock tickers bled red, and behind closed doors, the boardroom turned cold. Investors pulled out quietly, but with precision. The kind of silence that feels like a scream. And in the middle of it all stood Hajun, sleepless, wrinkled suit, eyes hollow from too many nights, in an office that used to feel like power, now just pressure. He was trying to save a legacy, but wondering, quietly, if he could hold on to everything that truly mattered before it slipped through his fingers. Hajun worked late, then later. Some nights, he didn't come home until dawn. But when he did, he kissed Amira's forehead like she was fragile and whispered apologies with exhaustion stitched into every word. He didn't tell her the full story. He didn't want to burden her. She thought he didn't want her. He tried to touch her one night just gently, his hand brushing her back beneath the covers, fingers trailing down the soft curve of her waist. She flinched, not harshly, not on purpose, but enough. Hajun froze. "Sorry," she murmured, curling into herself. He didn't ask why. He just kissed the top of her head and turned to face the wall. They slept inches apart, but it felt like a mile. One night, the baby cried. Hard. Hajun wasn't home yet. Amira sat rocking in the nursery chair, the baby pressed to her chest, tears slipping down her cheeks faster than she could stop them. Her body ached. Her eyes burned. Her soul felt like it was unraveling thread by thread. "I can't even hold him without feeling like I'm failing," she whispered into the darkness. The baby cooed and nuzzled in closer. She didn't feel better. The wedding necklace stayed in its velvet box. Zaria texted twice. "Hey sis, just checking in. I love you." Maya sent a meme, then a voice note where she accidentally cried halfway through telling a joke. Danny simply sent, "You don't have to say anything, just, we're still here." She left them all on red. When Zaria knocked on the door with her famous banana muffins, Amira stayed silent, crouched behind the couch, heart racing like she was hiding from danger. She knew they loved her. She just didn't know how to let herself be loved right now. In the kitchen, the fridge hummed softly. Inside, food she'd cooked but couldn't bring herself to eat. Outside, silence. The kind that stretches between two people when love hasn't disappeared, but doubt has taken its place. Amira leaned on the counter, hand pressed to her stomach, and whispered something so soft she barely heard it herself. "Maybe I wasn't built for this part." The part after the fairy tale. The part where you're supposed to feel whole again, but only feel hollow. The part where you're told you're beautiful as a mother, but not as a woman. Not anymore. And the part that hurt the most? She wasn't even sure Hajun noticed. It started with a plate. Just a plate. Ceramic, floral edged, one of the few from their wedding registry she'd insisted on keeping nice. Hajun opened the trash can late one night after another 14-hour day at the office, sleeves rolled up, tie still knotted around his throat like a leash. And there it was, a full plate of food, barely touched, one corner of a pancake eaten, 2 bites of eggs. The syrup still glistened. His heart dropped. He looked over at the stove, still warm. The skillet rinsed but not cleaned. A dish towel tossed over the edge of the sink. She had cooked. He'd missed it. Again. Hajun stood frozen, the smell of maple and guilt hanging in the air like smoke. They started snapping over nothing. The toothpaste cap, the baby wipes, the fact that the stroller was folded the wrong way. She raised her voice first. He raised his eyes, confused, frustrated, and drowning. They weren't yelling, but it felt worse than yelling, like they were slipping underwater with their mouths shut. One night, it all broke. Amira was trying to soothe the baby, bouncing gently in the dim light of the nursery. Her robe was slipping, curls wild from sweat and sleeplessness. The baby wouldn't stop crying. Her body ached. Her arms trembled. When Hajun came in, his shirt still wrinkled from meetings, she didn't even glance at him. "Let me help." "I've got it," Amira said. Her voice cracked. He stepped closer, and that's when he saw it. Her face wet with silent tears, her hands shaking too hard to rock the baby steadily. "Amira!" "You don't look at me anymore," she whispered, not raising her eyes. "Maybe I disgust you now." The words hit him like a punch. "What?" She looked up, finally, and it nearly broke him. "I see it," she said, tears tracking down her cheeks. "The way your eyes skip past me, the way you stop reaching for me at night, the way you barely touch me anymore, unless it's about the baby." "That's not true, isn't it?" He took a step forward. She took a step back, and that hurt more than anything. "I'm tired, Hajun," she whispered. "I'm tired of pretending I feel okay when I don't. I'm tired of wearing this body like a costume I didn't ask for. I'm tired of people calling me strong when I feel like I'm breaking just holding a spoon." The baby whimpered again. She rocked him harder, too hard. Hajun reached out gently, took the baby from her arms, held him close. Then he looked at her, really looked. Beyond the robe, beyond the exhaustion, beyond the stretch marks and puffy eyes, and silence. And he said it softly, like an anchor. "Then let's get you clothes that fit this season of your life." She blinked, confused. "You don't need to force your body into the past. We'll go shopping. We'll find pieces that feel like you. And when you're ready, if you want to, we'll work through the rest. Slowly, gently, together." She said nothing, because her throat was too tight to speak. Later that week, she passed by his office at home. The door was cracked, just enough. She wasn't trying to eavesdrop, not really, but then she heard her name. "I think she's hurting more than she lets on." A pause. Then Hajun's voice again, low and raw. "She's the strongest person I know. I don't deserve her. I really don't." Amira stood frozen in the hallway, her back pressed to the wall, hand over her mouth. It wasn't that he hadn't seen her. He had, all along. And somehow, despite everything, despite her flinching, despite her silence, despite the lies her reflection whispered to her daily, he still saw her. Not the old version, not the before. Her, as she was now. That night, Amira didn't say anything, but when Hajun reached for her under the blankets, she didn't flinch. She didn't speak. She just let him hold her. And for the first time in weeks, they both fell asleep with breathing in sync, like a promise unspoken. The lights in Hajun's office cast long shadows across the hardwood floor. It was almost midnight. Again. Amira stood at the threshold, silent. Her arms were wrapped around herself, her skin kissed with chill from the drafty hallway. Hajun was slumped at his desk, his back curled, shirt rumpled, jaw slack with the heaviness of unplanned sleep. His laptop was still open. Red numbers glared from spreadsheets. A coffee cup sat half-finished. A pen rested loosely in his fingers, like he just dropped it mid-thought. She watched him for a long time, watched the way his chest rose and fell slowly, the way stress had carved hollows under his eyes, the way he breathed like he didn't even know he'd fallen asleep. Then she walked in, not to wake him, not to start a fight. She just set the plate down. Steamed rice, roasted chicken, the same sauce he used to ask for seconds of. She didn't know if he'd eat it. She didn't expect him to. She just needed to feel like she tried. In the middle of the night, Amira didn't pack. She cleaned. She folded laundry that didn't need folding, rearranged bibs and bottles, wiped down the kitchen counter twice, even though it was already spotless. Her hands moved because her heart didn't know what else to do. Then she sat on the nursery floor, the baby stuffed elephant in her lap. Not crying, just unraveling. A single thought whispered louder than the rest. I don't know how to be okay like this. She didn't plan to leave. She just wanted a moment where no one needed her, where the mirror didn't stare back, where her body wasn't a battlefield, and love didn't feel so far away. She curled up with the blanket from the crib, not to escape, just to breathe. Just then, she saw Hajun standing in the doorway, barefoot, eyes wide. His voice was cracked from sleep. What are you doing? She froze. She whispered, I just need to not feel like I'm suffocating. He stepped inside slowly. The air turned tight. Is it that bad? He asked quietly. That you can't even say it to me? Amira shook her head, eyes burning. You're never home. And when you are, you're not here. That's not fair, he said. I know it's not, she snapped. Voice rising like something broken inside her finally gave way. But it's true. And I know you're working. I know you're trying. But I'm alone here, Hajun. His face fell. I carry this body, she said, stepping back, hand clutched to her chest. The extra weight, the baby, the guilt, the headlines, the mirrors I stopped looking into. Her voice cracked. I carry the silence between us like a second skin. Amira. She finally looked at him. If you're tired of me, just say it. Don't make me keep pretending you still want me. His breath hitched. Then he stepped forward, slowly, but with something urgent flickering in his eyes. You think I'm pulling away because of you? His voice was hoarse, chest rising hard with each breath. Amira, I am trying to hold the company together. I am drowning in court filings and PR fires. You think I wanted this? That I want the company to fall apart? The lawsuit, the stock crash, the board breathing down my neck like vultures? I didn't say a word, because I didn't want you to carry it too. She stared at him, jaw tight, shoulders heaving. Her breath hitched. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. You could have told me, she said, the betrayal bleeding through her voice. I didn't want you to worry. I'm your wife, Hajun, she cried. Not some porcelain doll you lock away when things get messy. The silence after was brutal. Then his eyes flicked down. His voice was lower now, honest, tired. And I needed you to tell me you weren't okay, Amira. He walked toward her, slowly, arms loose at his sides. I knew something was wrong, but you pulled away, and I didn't know how to reach you without making it worse. She stepped back, tears finally slipping. I flinch when you touch me, she whispered. Not because I don't want you, but because I don't know how to let you see me like this. I can't even look at my own reflection without feeling like I've failed. A sob broke in her throat. I thought maybe you don't look at me because I'm not her anymore. The girl from the jet, the one in the green dress. I thought maybe you were finally seeing what the world always warned you about. She folded into him. He wrapped his arms around her and held her there, tight and quiet, his chin pressed to her hair. You are not failing. Amira sobbed harder, fist clutched in his shirt. You didn't just gain weight, Amira. You carried life. You brought our son into this world. Every change in your body is a part of that miracle. He pulled back just enough to hold her face in his hands, and for the record, his thumbs brushed her cheeks. I still look at you, every single day, and I am floored. She cried harder. He kissed her forehead. I'm sorry, he said. I'm sorry too, she said. The baby cried, soft, half-hearted, like he sensed the storm breaking. Hajun stood, wiped her cheeks with his sleeve, and carried the baby. As she watched him cradle their son, eyes soft and tired and full of something sacred. And in that moment, she didn't see the CEO. She didn't see the headlines or the scale or the scarred stretch of her stomach or the panic in her chest. She just saw him, the man who still loved her, and maybe still needed her too. That evening, there was no storm left, no yelling, no slammed doors, just the aftermath, the ache, the unraveling. Amira sat on the living room floor with her back against the couch, a throw blanket wrapped around her knees. The baby monitor sat quietly on the armrest, its soft green glow blinking steady like a heartbeat. Hajun lowered himself beside her, tired in every way a man could be tired, and rested his arm along the back of the couch, not touching her yet. Just there. They said nothing at first, just breathed, until she whispered, voice dry and barely there, I haven't looked in the mirror since the 3rd week postpartum. Hajun turned toward her slowly, his expression softened. Not shocked, just quietly devastated. I stopped wearing your shirts, she went on, eyes trained on the floor. Stopped eating full meals, even the pancakes. I'd make them, then stare at them like they betrayed me. His mouth parted, but no words came yet. I weigh myself every morning, she said, shame crumbling her voice. Every single one, hoping maybe today something will shift. She laughed bitterly, a sharp exhale through her nose, as if the scale could measure how broken I've felt. He closed his eyes. You should have told me. I couldn't. She looked at him now, raw, red-eyed. You were drowning too. You wouldn't say it, but I saw it. I saw how tired you looked. A pause. She swallowed. I thought if I told you, I'd make things worse. I thought if you looked at me, really looked, you'd wonder how you ended up here. Hajun's throat worked around a knot. Amira, she kept going, I thought you were ashamed of me. He moved closer, his hand cupping her jaw, firm and trembling at once. Ashamed, he repeated, stunned, of the woman who carried my son? The woman who held this home together when I was falling apart? The woman who kept showing up even when her body and mind begged her to disappear? He kissed her forehead, then her cheeks. Then, softly, he pulled the blanket down and kissed the stretch marks across her belly, one by one, like sacred ground. This is beauty, he whispered, reverent. This is what built our family. Hajun pulled her into his arms again, pressing her close, whispering, You're not alone. Not now. Not ever. Then, a soft knock. Amira stiffened, but Hajun simply called out, Come in. The door cracked open. Mrs. Park stepped inside quietly, a small bowl cradled in her hands. She didn't ask if they were okay, didn't glance down at the tear-soaked floor or the tangle of limbs beside the couch. She just knelt, setting the bowl, steam rising gently on the coffee table. I remembered you like this, she said in Korean, her voice gentle but sure. My mother used to make it when I couldn't eat from stress. I figured it might help. Amira blinked at her, caught between shame and surprise. Mrs. Park didn't offer any compliments, no observations about her weight gain or her strength, or how brave she was. Just this. You've been strong long enough, Amira, she said. looking her square in the eye. Let the people who love you carry you now. Then she turned, walked out as quietly as she came. And for a moment, Amira didn't feel judged or pitied. She felt held. Amira's face crumpled, and she folded into her husband's arms. He caught her, cradled her like glass, kissed the tears that rolled down her temple. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped around each other on the floor, as if rebuilding from the inside out. Sometimes she forgot how supported she really was. Hajun had rocked their son to sleep last night, murmuring lullabies in broken English and soft, sleepy Korean. The part-time nanny showed up just before noon today, offering a kind smile and enough space for her to breathe again. And even on nights when exhaustion wrapped around them both, Hajun took his turn. Not perfectly, not always at the right time, but enough. Enough to remind her she wasn't doing this alone. Later that week, the doorbell rang. Zaria showed up first, arms full of snacks and her eyebrows already raised. I brought sugar and salt. I didn't know what kind of breakdown we were having. She pulled Amira into a hug so tight, Amira almost cried again. Maya came next, pink sweater, gold hoops, and tears already welling. You had a whole baby and didn't let me cry over him in person? Rude. She cried for 20 straight minutes while holding the baby, kissing his cheeks like they were magic. Danny came last, quiet, no fanfare. She just sat beside Amira on the couch, didn't say a word, and slid her hand into hers. It was all Amira needed. The next day, she signed up for therapy again, twice a week, no skipping this time. The storm finally settles at Hansong. Hajun, true to his word, made changes. A new leadership structure, less control, more time for his family, for life, for them. He came home earlier. He held their son longer. He kissed Amira's shoulder every night before bed and whispered, "You're not alone. Not now. Not ever." And one quiet morning, the sun stretching through sheer curtains, Amira opened the little velvet drawer in her dresser and pulled out the necklace Hajun gave her on their wedding day. The silver felt heavier than she remembered. Sacred. She fastened it slowly, hands shaking just a little. Then she looked in the mirror, not to critique, not to mourn, but to see, and there she was. Curves fuller, eyes wiser, shoulders stronger, not broken, just becoming. Hajun walked past the door and paused, his breath caught. "You're wearing it," he said softly. Amira turned, hand brushing the chain. "I think I'm ready to believe I still deserve to." He walked to her slowly. "You always did." She smiled, fragile and powerful all at once. He kissed her, gently, on the mouth. Then again, on her chest, just above the necklace. In the distance, the baby cooed through the monitor, and the world felt steady again. Not perfect, but steady. And they had found each other once more inside the wreckage. The room was warm with soft light, dressed in cream linens, fresh florals, and the hum of murmuring voices. The postpartum wellness summit bore Hajun's foundation logo at every turn, subtle but powerful. A space curated not for performance, but for presence. There was no grand music as Amira took the stage, just quiet, the kind that welcomed truth. She wore a deep burgundy dress that hugged her curves, bold without apology, and her stretch marks were not hidden. They were art. She looked like a woman who knew her worth. Finally, Zaria whooped from the front row. Maya clapped so hard it echoed off the ceiling. Danny didn't move, just gave a nod of quiet, steady pride. And Hajun? Hajun sat still, both hands in his lap, eyes never leaving her. His lips were pressed together, trembling ever so slightly. He was crying. Amira stepped up to the mic, looked out at a sea of women, some new mothers, some seasoned, all still learning how to show up for themselves. And then she began, I used to believe that love was something you earned by disappearing, that if I could just shrink enough, emotionally, physically, I'd fit into someone's idea of worthy. But motherhood broke that illusion. I looked at my son and realized I'd never ask him to be smaller for love. So why was I asking that of myself? A silence settled over the room. Not heavy, just still, sacred. Healing is not linear. Some days I eat the meal. Some days I cry in the mirror. But every day I choose to show up for myself again, and I choose to believe that I was never too much. I was just never meant to fit into a space too small for my truth. The applause that followed wasn't explosive. It was felt, rising, building, holding her in invisible arms, a room full of women who recognized themselves, and Hajun, in the front row now, standing with the rest of them, his hands clapping slow and steady, like reverence. They came home that evening to the smell of roasted garlic and lemon thyme on the stove. Amira stepped inside the apartment, heels in hand, curls loose, dress unzipped at the back. Their son babbled from the playpen, grinning, chubby hands reaching for her. She scooped him up with a breathless laugh. Then it happened. One step, two. Tiny, wobbly, but unmistakable. Hajun turned from the kitchen, eyes wide. Did he just... He walked, Amira whispered. Their son took another step, then plopped down with a triumphant squeal. Amira dropped to the rug, laughter bursting from her chest, hand covering her mouth as tears spilled freely. Hajun joined her, pulling them both close, forehead pressed to hers. Even in the chaos, he whispered, life keeps happening. They laughed. They cried. They held the moment like it might slip through their fingers. That night, after the baby had been rocked to sleep and the world had gone quiet again, Amira found herself at the dining table, her plate full. She blinked at it. Hajun sat across from her, a fork in his hand. I cooked, he said simply. No Google this time. She smiled through glassy eyes. I don't know if I'm hungry. He leaned closer. That's okay. I'll feed you until your appetite returns. She hesitated, then nodded. He lifted the first bite, held it out to her gently. She opened her mouth, chewed, swallowed, and wept. Not from shame, not from guilt, from grace, from being seen. Hajun reached over, thumb brushing a tear down her cheek. You were beautiful before, he murmured. He lifted another bite. You're beautiful now. Another. And I will love you in every form you take. She covered her mouth, shoulders shaking, eyes locked to his. I believe you, she said softly. I finally do. And that night, for the first time in months, they danced again. No music, no audience, just the sound of their own breaths, rising, falling, in sync. This was their new altitude, and they'd earned every inch of it. The house was unusually quiet for a Saturday. Golden morning light streamed through the windows, casting a soft glow across the polished floorboards. Outside, birds chirped lazily, and the faint rustle of wind played in the trees. Inside, Amira wandered sleepily from the nursery, curls loose, robe tied haphazardly around her waist. She rubbed her eyes, barefoot, half expecting to find Hajun still dozing or buried in a spreadsheet. But instead, she froze. Right there, in the center of the living room, stood a mirror. A tall, stunning, full-length mirror with a thick wooden frame hand-carved edges, and an almost regal presence, the kind you saw in bridal boutiques or magazine shoots, the kind you stepped in front of only when you were ready to see yourself. She blinked, her heart stumbling, and then her breath caught in her throat. At the top of the glass, etched in soft silver script, "You are not a season, you are the entire sky." She reached out slowly, fingertips brushing the engraved words as if they might vanish. Behind her, she heard footsteps, quiet, familiar. "I had it made last month," Hajun said, voice low, almost reverent. "I wanted to give it to you when you were ready, or maybe when I was brave enough to show you how I see you." Amira turned, eyes wide, heart trembling. He was holding a dress, the one he picked for her after the baby, the one she never wore, the one she shoved to the back of the closet, tag still on because it fit, but didn't feel like hers. Hajun stepped forward, gently placing it in her hands. "No pressure," he murmured, "but I'd love to see you in it, even just for you." Her hands clutched the fabric, breath uneven. She disappeared into the bedroom. When she returned, the mirror caught her first. The dress hugged her in places she once tried to shrink. The curve of her arms, the roundness of her belly, the fullness of her hips. Her hair was still messy. Her eyes were rimmed with soft exhaustion. She hadn't done her makeup, but none of it mattered, because this time she looked, and she saw a woman who was enough, who had given birth, who had rebuilt herself, who had cried into her husband's shoulder and laughed with her baby until her sides ached. She saw Amira, and the tears came so fast, so full, they blurred everything. Her knees buckled, the dress swayed. She covered her mouth as the sobs rose from somewhere deep. Old pain, buried shame, and the final unraveling of every lie she'd ever believed about her body. She didn't even hear Hajun approach, just felt his arms. He knelt beside her on the rug, pulling her gently closer, the fabric of the dress pooling between them. His hand cupped the side of her face, his thumb brushing the tears like they were sacred. "I vowed to love you then," he whispered, eyes shining. "I vow to keep choosing you. Every version, every chapter. Nothing's changed, except how much more I see you." Amira buried her face into his chest, sobbing harder, clinging to him like her life depended on it. "I thought," she gasped, "I thought you couldn't want me like this." Hajun kissed the crown of her head, voice firm and full of certainty. "This is the version of you I fought the world for." Their son toddled into the room, then, tiny feet slapping softly against the wood, one sock missing, dragging a toy lion by the tail. "Oma," he mumbled, reaching for her leg. Amira smiled through her tears, scooping him into her lap. Hajun leaned over and kissed both of them, one on the forehead, one on the cheek. And just as they sat there, a family stitched together with pain and joy and choice, a low hum passed above the house. A plane. They didn't look up. They didn't need to, because this was the destination. They'd already arrived. The end.